So I watched every single Winnie the Pooh movie. I am not okay. My favorite movie as a child was The Many Adventures of Winnie the Pooh. I reportedly watched it every single day, or maybe even multiple times a day. And to this day, if I think about it, I can still remember it. So what better way to honor the legacy of that movie's impact on my life could there be than to watch every single Winnie the Pooh movie ever made and rank them here on YouTube? There's probably a better way. You should know that in honor of today's video, I did put on just the reddest shirt that I own, and I am also not wearing anything below the waist. I am full on Winnie the Poohing it, comrades. You think I would lie? Why would I lie? I decided to watch all of these movies in the order that they were released so that I could get a good idea of what the extended Poohniverse looks like and determine if there's any continuity to speak of between these films. I began my Pooh viewing journey with The Many Adventures of Winnie the Pooh, which was released in 1977. This movie is in fact a compilation of 3 short films, including Winnie the Pooh and the Honey Tree, Winnie the Pooh and the Blustery Day, and Winnie the Pooh and Tigger 2. Right, so first off, this movie is a chaotic mess.
Trespassers will.
Trespassers will what, Piglet? Be shot?
Pooh's thoughtful spot.
Pooh's thoughtful spot?
What's a poo?
You're sitting on one.
Huh? Huh?
Great!
But that's from Tony the Tiger.
But Piglet, where will you live?
Piglet just gives his house away?
You shall live with me.
Piglet and Pooh are gay. This is no lie, I used to eat plain tortillas like that, just in order to feel like that worm. When you get to the end of this movie, it packs an emotional punch unlike anything I've ever seen before. It's devastating. There's this sort of conversation about nothingness, about growing up, about losing your childlike wonder. Incredible movie. Next up, I watched 3 Winnie the Pooh short films that were made in the Soviet Union. This came out in 1969, and it was followed by Winnie the Pooh Pays a Visit and Winnie the Pooh and a Busy Day. All 3 of these came out before the United States finished their 3rd Winnie the Pooh short film, which really just highlights how advanced the Soviet Union was. They beat us into outer space, and they beat us at making 3 Winnie the Pooh short films. It kinda seems like maybe they had the better system. I'm just saying. Anyway, these films are hilarious. We need a theatrical release. We need a 4K Blu-ray digital steelbook box set remaster released ASAP. They're amazing.
Пятачок, что? У тебя есть дома ружье? Есть. Неси его скорей. Простите, а что, совсем никого нет? Совсем никого. Не может быть. Кто-то там все-таки есть. Ну, сос, если вы больше ничего не хотите. А разве еще что-нибудь есть?
Next, I watched Winnie the Pooh Discovers the Seasons, a 10-minute educational short film that made me want to hate myself. I already know the seasons, Disney. What do you think I am, a little child? Also, this whole educational short film only works if you live in the Northern Hemisphere and if you live high enough above the equator in order to experience snow. Next, I watched Winnie the Pooh and A Day for Eeyore. On the whole, it's a blatant copy of the vastly superior Winnie the Pooh and a Busy Day from the Soviet Union. Screw this movie. Next, I watched Winnie the Pooh and Christmas 2.
That's no Sandy Claus. That's a Pooh.
It's a timeless holiday classic. All of the characters in the 100-Acre Wood are spending their time greedily fantasizing about all the gifts that they're going to get for Christmas. But then they learn the valuable lesson that Christmas isn't about consumerism, it's about being with those that you love. But then Christopher Robin shows up at the end and gives them all the presents that they wanted anyways, which reveals that Christmas actually is about consumerism. Thanks, Disney, for reminding us of that. Next up, I watched Boo to You Too, Winnie the Pooh, which opens with Winnie the Pooh wearing pants, which for some reason just feels wrong. Anyway, in terms of this movie, it introduces a trope which we will see in a lot of the later Winnie the Pooh films, which is awful songs sung awfully.
All I really want to do is be with Pooh, Eeyore, and Tigger.
This film has other questionable moments too. I will say though, Tigger really did swag out in the last line of his song.
Oh, by the way, Pooh.
Next, I watched Pooh's Grand Adventure, The Search for Christopher Robin. Finally, a Winnie the Pooh film that isn't a holiday special. But is it good? This movie takes the very sweet, heartwarming scene at the very end of the first film and tries to stretch it out into a whole movie where Christopher Robin has gone to school and nobody in the 100-Acre Wood knows where he is. And folks, it grieves me how bad this movie is.
Poor guy. His very little brain is half gone with grief.
What the heck, Tigger?
I need you to come.
Okay, what the heck, Pooh?
You're braver than you believe, and stronger than you seem, and smarter than you think.
Sure, it's objectively a nice sentiment, but it feels so manufactured. The one good thing that this movie does give us is Pooh representing all of the non-binary folks out there.
And her, and him, and they, and them.
Next, I watched a Winnie the Pooh Thanksgiving. And why is Rabbit acting like they need to have a turkey for their Thanksgiving dinner? Rabbits don't eat turkey! Rabbits have never eaten turkey, Rabbit. On top of that, this whole story is supposed to be set over there in British land, where they don't even celebrate Thanksgiving. What is happening? Next up, I watched Seasons of Giving, which is just a compilation of 3 episodes from some old Winnie the Pooh TV show that aired for a while. This one actually gave me deja vu. The only way that I can explain this is that at some point when I was a very young child, I saw some of the old Winnie the Pooh TV show episodes. There's a bit where they think that Piglet has become a lump of snow, and there's a bit where Rabbit is boiling a milk bottle for a baby, and it like swells up really big. He also tests the temperature on his wrist. Both of those things I remember distinctly seeing as a small child. Next, I watched A Valentine for You. Owl in this one sings a song about the differences between boys and girls, and it is painfully clear that he does not have a clue what he's talking about, and it is embarrassing. Next up, I finally made it to the Tigger movie. I always wanted to watch this movie when I was a kid. I saw trailers for it all the time, but I never watched it. So how do I feel about this movie after all of these years of anticipation? This movie is deeply depressing. This movie is about the comic relief wild card character, and they decide to make him face the trauma that he's the only one. He has no family. They just picked a character trait in his little song. I'm the only one. Brrr. And they said, what if we made that actually awful? But I will say, Pooh and Piglet do kiss in this one. Next, I watched The Book of Pooh, Stories from the Heart. This is a Muppet-style Winnie the Pooh movie that I had to watch on 1.5 times speed just to get through because it was awful for me, but it did have 2 kind of really hilarious moments, which are these.
Say, ridiculous.
Ridiculous.
No. Who's there?
It's me, Tiglet. T-I-double-glet.
So next up, I watched A Very Merry Pooh Year. What are these names, dude? It was at this point that I think I really started to feel the Disney profit motive formula seeping in. Across basically all of these films, the characters go through the exact same character arcs. Tigger will ruin Rabbit's garden and make Rabbit mad. Piglet will be afraid about something. Rabbit will be annoyingly controlling. And Pooh will be some sort of pagan god of gluttony who's just after that sweet honey. These movies have, at this point, revealed to me that Disney didn't just get greedy and lazy when they started doing live-action remakes of their classic cartoons. No, they have been cashing in on cheap, simplistic, nostalgia-baiting, bastardized versions of their own art since at least the early 2000s. Next up, I watched Piglet's Big Movie.
Here you go, Rara. Something must be very sad.
The central conflict of this movie feels a little bit forced. Essentially, Piglet gets this idea in his head that nobody wants his help based on one random example. It's a bit cheesy. Other notable things about this film include: it is canonically a sequel to the Tigger movie. Rabbit canonically hates immigrants. And lastly, Pooh is a bastard who takes credit for Piglet's discovery of the North Pole. Next, I watched Springtime with Roo. This film features a song about sneezing, which somehow is still not as out of pocket as this line.
Wait a cotton-picking second.
Rabbit is insanely, frustratingly toxic in this movie. Easter is one of the lamest holidays, and also VeggieTales already did an Easter-themed Christmas Carol, which is way better than this. Can a tin chicken lay a real egg? Next, I watched Pooh's Heffalump movie, and actually, this film's kinda good.
Actually, it had a little less poo in it.
Amazing.
Oh no.
Oh no.
Be brave, Piglet. Let's is our chance to save our...
Incredible.
It's coming! It's coming!
Excellent.
No.
Cinema.
It's a heffalump!
A real heffalump! And it's got room too!
There is a Kanga song in this movie, and while watching it, for a singular moment, I actually thought that I could feel the unbearable agony of being a parent and knowing that my child can't stay young forever but must grow old and die someday due to the heartless, cruel passage of time. The Heffalump movie did that to me. That's crazy. This film also introduces a new character named Lumpy with an incredible voice actor. It's very heartwarming. I teared up a little bit at the end. Okay, it was more than a little bit. I like this one. Next, I watched Pooh's Heffalump Halloween movie. Disney saw that they actually did something good for once, and so of course they decided to put out a completely garbage tier holiday special to go with it, to capitalize on it. It also shoves in the original Halloween special, Boo to You Too, just to pad the thing for time. So cheaply and unwonderfully made. Next, I watched the Super Sleuth Christmas movie. This is the most soulless, heartless bit of Cocomelon-looking, AI-sounding trash that I've ever had the misfortune of having to watch. And they made 3 movies like this. Disney, I hate you. Was the money that you made on this schlop worth it for the way that you dragged A.A. Milne's name through the mud?
Pooh, you're a genius. Instead of pulling, we can try... That's right. Pushing.
Oh my gosh.
A fork in the road. I don't need it. I brought a sandwich.
Okay, that bit was kind of funny. Next, I watched Tigger and Pooh and a Musical 2. Apparently, Rabbit becomes Hitler in this one. Next up, I watched Super Duper Super Sleuths.
What kind of superpower would you like to have?
I would widowy be Spider-Man. Yes, in this one, Disney turns Winnie the Pooh into a Marvel movie, because of course they did. Disney is so creative, dude. Next up, I watched the Winnie the Pooh movie from 2011. This was a rare return to form for Disney. I'll give them that. They set out to make an actual genuine Pooh movie, and it's kind of hilarious. Pooh has a song with a grumbling tummy accompaniment.
For forgetting to eat.
This moment is also good.
Oh, mother.
Then finally, I watched Christopher Robin. This is the final Disney Winnie the Pooh movie. It's also the one that I was most curious about. This is Disney's fresh live-action take on Winnie the Pooh. I know, Disney making a live-action remake of one of their classic cartoons? It's unheard of. The thing is, this film really surprised me. This is basically the Toy Story 3 of Winnie the Pooh films. It's devastating. I wasn't even halfway through this thing when I was crying. And when I say crying, I wasn't crying. I was weeping. Full on, face drenched, going through it, feeling very heavy emotions. Never before have I seen my nostalgia for something be so effectively weaponized against me. The opening of this film is deeply dark on many levels. There are just bad vibes throughout the start of this thing. Then Christopher Robin grows up, forgets about his friends in the 100-Acre Wood, and gets crushed under the weight of survival in a capitalist society. He has no time for his wife and daughter because he's always working. He also has PTSD from fighting in World War II. This film strongly highlights the horrors of growing up. If that wasn't enough, the characters who live in the 100-Acre Wood have aged as well. Pooh is now a faded, worn-out old bear. It's so sad. There is a scene in this movie where Christopher Robin and Pooh meet again, and Christopher Robin says to Pooh, "I haven't thought about you in 30 years. And Pooh says, in his little Pooh voice, "We thought about you every day." Oh my gosh. This movie also is at its core deeply anti-capitalist. The whole arc that Christopher Robin goes on in this movie is one in which he has to realize that he is letting time slip away while working to enrich his corporate masters, while his real life, his time with his wife and his daughter, is time that he's lost and time that he can never get back. So what in life is really important to us? Is the most important thing to us really that we slave our lives away to fund a private utopia for the rich? Is that why that little boy Christopher Robin was brought to this earth? Does Christopher Robin really only exist to create profits for shareholders? The villains in this movie are capitalists. The animal characters at multiple points call the capitalist characters heffalumps and woozles. Let me emphasize this. Heffalumps and woozles are canonically capitalists thanks to this movie. Sadly, the final message of the movie isn't to overthrow the corporation. It's not to remove the greedy capitalists from their positions of power and create a system that's better for the working class. It's basically just to ask for PTO. But still, that is the most anti-capitalist message that Disney has put into any of these films. I'm frankly surprised that this film exists at all, considering it came from Disney. And it is very clear that they've tried to protect the actual corporate leader character and make him not seem like the bad guy. It was his son who was really bad and greedy. But I'm sorry, Disney, you're too late. Because once you call capitalists heffalumps and woozles, there's no taking that back. You have already radicalized the working class at that point.
Because you're a woozle. So that's what a woozle looks like. What the devil is a woozle? A woozle is a slinking little monster who gets everyone else to do his work for him and hopes that we forget what's important in our lives. Our families, our dear friends, the people who love us, the people whom we love. Well, we're here to tell you, I'm here to tell you that we're not afraid of heffalumps and woozles anymore.
Obviously, this isn't a system that can be fixed by just having enough PTO days, because the old man who privately owns the means of production in this film clearly never cared about the lives of his workers. But hey, you gotta start somewhere. You gotta resist somehow. Unionize, organize, solidaritize. Christopher Robin. Next, I watched Winnie the Pooh, Blood and Honey, which is the single greatest argument for nothing ever being allowed to become public domain. This movie created a new genre, the so bad it's bad genre. It is solely and entirely awful and gratuitous and cringe. And lastly, the final Winnie the Pooh movie that I watched, it was called Winnie the Pooh, Blood and Honey 2. Yeah, they made a second one, and they're gonna make a third one. This is just awful news. I will not be watching any more Winnie the Pooh, Blood and Honeys. I will say that this one is much better than the first one. I actually think that the actor playing Christopher Robin specifically did an incredible job in the emotional scenes. I was very impressed. They also do some actually clever things in this movie. They changed Google to Milne in reference to the author of the Winnie the Pooh book. Owl calls the cops pigs. That's great. Bottom line, the best part of this movie was the fact that I accidentally fell asleep and took a really wonderful nap during it. So now finally comes the moment we've all been waiting for. The ranking. Every Winnie the Pooh film from worst to best, according to me. In 26th place, we have Winnie the Pooh, Blood and Honey. In 25th place, Tigger and Roo and a Musical 2. In 24th place is the Super Sleuth Christmas movie. In 23rd place is Super Duper Slooper Sleuths. 22nd place is The Book of Pooh, Stories from the Heart. 21st place is Springtime with Roo. 20th place is Pooh's Heffalump Halloween movie. 19th place is A Winnie the Pooh Thanksgiving. 18th place, Winnie the Pooh, Blood and Honey 2. 17th place, Winnie the Pooh, A Very Merry Pooh Year. 16th place, Winnie the Pooh Discovers the Seasons. 15th place, Pooh's Grand Adventure, The Search for Christopher Robin. 14th place, Winnie the Pooh, Seasons of Giving. 13th place, Winnie the Pooh and a Day for Eeyore. 12th place, Boo to You Too, Winnie the Pooh. 11th place, Winnie the Pooh, A Valentine for You. And now, for the top 10. In 10th place, we have Winnie the Pooh and Christmas 2. In 9th place, we have Piglet's Big Movie. In 8th place, The Tigger Movie. In 7th place, Pooh's Heffalump Movie. In 6th place, the 2011 Winnie the Pooh. In 5th place, The Mini Adventures of Winnie the Pooh. In 4th place, in a shocking turn of events, Christopher Robin. In 3rd place, Winnie the Pooh and a Busy Day. In 2nd place, Winnie the Pooh. And in 1st place, Winnie the Pooh Goes Visiting. Not only did the Soviet Union beat us at getting into outer space and beat us at making 3 Winnie the Pooh short films, they also beat every single Disney Winnie the Pooh movie in terms of quality. Let's go, Soviet Union! I'm gonna say it now, I think that we need to bring back the Soviet Union just so that we can get more Winnie the Pooh films at that level. In terms of Disney's extended cinematic Poohniverse, I feel like there are multiple tiers. I think that Pooh's Grand Adventure, the Tigger movie, the Piglet movie, and Pooh's Heffalump movie are all part of the same universe, and they all take place after the mini adventures of Winnie the Pooh, but I don't think that the 2011 Winnie the Pooh is connected to those. I think 2011 Winnie the Pooh is a direct sequel to the mini adventures of Winnie the Pooh. I also think that Christopher Robin is a direct sequel to the mini adventures of Winnie the Pooh. You could make the argument that mini adventures of Winnie the Pooh, Winnie the Pooh 2011, and Christopher Robin make a trilogy. But in my opinion, the 2011 Winnie the Pooh film doesn't quite match the other two in terms of realism. Obviously, there's a lot of imagination and unreality in these Winnie the Pooh films, but at the end of the 2011 Winnie the Pooh film, they literally bring out an impossibly large pot of honey and nobody bats an eye. Nobody questions it. I'm sorry, but that's just not realistic enough for me to be able to accept. I do not believe that child Christopher Robin was able to drag a pot of honey that big all the way into the 100-acre wood just for Pooh. As for the holiday specials, I'd like to think that they are part of a special extended universe wherein all of the Winnie the Pooh characters only come to life to celebrate a holiday and then they return to purgatory. You could argue that the holiday specials take place in the same universe as the movies. If you watch the Heffalump Halloween movie, which is a direct sequel to Pooh's Heffalump movie, you do see the Boo to You 2 special as a flashback, which seems to enforce the idea that the holiday specials take place in the movie universe. But if that were the case, then that would mean that any time that you put on the Tigger movie, the rabbit that appears in the Tigger movie is canonically a rabbit that eats turkey and celebrates Thanksgiving. And I don't think that any of us want that. But also, either way, Rabbit is still deeply racist because of the Piglet movie and the Heffalump movie in a very anti-immigrant sort of way, and that's basically inescapable. So, brutal. As for the CGI Cocomelon ones, the scary ones, and the puppet one, these are all also part of the same universe in that their existence is a crime, and I will not elaborate on that. Hey, thanks for watching. Be sure to subscribe because the next movie ranking that I'm gonna do is gonna be every single A24 movie ranked. There's over 170 of them. This does not end well for me. I cannot emphasize enough that this does not end well for me. So please subscribe. Thank you. If y'all want to try to watch the Soviet Union films with English subtitles, I am going to leave the link in the description of how I found them. I don't know how shady that website was, but that was the only place that I could find them. They are very hard to find with English subtitles, so please, can somebody get to work on making those widely available to us?